Flexibility and mobility are really important, but often overlooked parts of exercise programs. So when we're talking about flexibility, we're talking about the ability of a muscle to stretch. So for hamstrings, this might be my ability to lean forward and stretch my hamstrings as far as possible. Okay, and mobility would be my ability for me to move my hips down and let my body get down as low as possible. So they're just a little bit different, but for the sake of this, because we're talking about joint movement overall, I will use them interchangeably. Okay. So why is mobility training so important? Well, often what happens is if you're not moving or you're not used to moving in certain ways or taking your joints through their full range of motion, then you become unable to move through that full range of motion. So as you get older, for example, if your shoulders are rounded forward like this, then it's going to get harder and harder for you to reach above your head. And if you're trying to put dishes away or put something up on a high shelf, then you might hurt your shoulder or your neck as you're reaching up, okay? Or if you don't have enough hip mobility to be able to get down nice and low and you have to bend over through your back like this, then that's going to leave you susceptible to a back injury. So having good hip mobility to get down nice and low and be able to pick something up is really important. And it's why I think everyone should do some flexibility and mobility training as part of their exercise program or their workout. Mobility training is your muscles or joints' ability to go through its full range of motion. So if we're looking at the shoulder joint, it's being able to take your arm from straight up here and then reaching pretty far behind you and getting through that full range of motion. So if someone had shoulder immobility or they weren't able to move their shoulder all the way, then they might only be able to make an arm circle just like this or even smaller depending. Okay, so there are many different ways that you could improve the mobility of a joint. You can go through your full range of motion when you're doing exercises. You can do dynamic stretches, static stretches. You can do massage therapy techniques, whether that's rolling, using a massage ball or the stick. There are all different types of ways, and we're going to go through those as we go through some exercise programs a little bit later on in this course. And how much you should do really depends on how far you need to go. So if you're someone who has, so if we're still talking about the shoulder, and if I have really good, or I feel like I have really good shoulder mobility, then I only maybe need to do focus on shoulder mobility exercises a couple times a week, or maybe even only a couple times a month. Whereas if I'm really anteriorly rotated, then I might want to dedicate a good 5 or 10 minutes to working on the mobility of my shoulders every time I do a workout session. So that's going to depend. It's very individual, so what we'll do is as we go through some of the exercise programs and some of the exercises, we'll explain it as we go, and then you'll be able to see and figure out for yourself what you should be doing and how much you should be doing for each individual joint as you see fit.